You're listening to This is Yoga Therapy. I'm your host, Michelle Lawrence, and I've had the opportunity to interview many of those who are making a difference at the intersections of yoga and health. And I'm here to share with you their stories and conversations. Thanks for listening. In today's episode, I interviewed Kimberly Archibald Russell. Kimberly is a yoga teacher, a yoga therapist, and she lives in Cleveland, Ohio. She's the founder of My Village Yoga. And My Village Yoga was founded on the idea that the benefits of yoga should be shared with everyone throughout the Cleveland community, regardless of age, gender, body type, race, religion, or socioeconomic level. And I just love that. And we're going to talk about her mission and her work in the podcast today. It's so great to have you here today, Kim.
Well, thank you for having me.
Let's just have a start here by sharing out to our listeners how you got started with yoga and then yoga therapy.
Oh, such an interesting question. And it takes me back because I had 3 unsuccessful pregnancies. And my doctor told me when I was pregnant the 4th time, try some yoga. And that's all he said. So I went to Cleveland Clinic. They had a class. It wasn't prenatal or anything. And I took that class. And that was my successful pregnancy. So yoga is near and dear to my heart. I know how long I've practiced based on how old my daughter is, and she'll be 23 in August.
Right. How exciting.
It was so interesting. I started going when I went back to work after my maternity leave. At lunchtime, I would go to this local yoga studio. What an awesome midday work break for the corporate world. So I would do that. And then I would go on a Saturday, and then I started doing workshops. And, here we go. I'm going to take yoga teacher training just to deepen my practice. You've heard this 1,000 times. And here we are. So I took 200-hour locally, and I loved it.
And then you went on and did your yoga therapy training too.
Oh, well, I have some trainings in between there. I did a 200-hour, a 300-hour, a comedic yoga training in Chicago. And then I discovered yoga therapy when I was at Kripalu for the Black Yoga Teacher Alliance conference. So I'd never heard of yoga therapy before that. And I just knew the community things I was doing after work and on the weekends that I needed to know more.
It's so awesome. Yeah, you speak to yoga on your lunch break as a corporate person. That's how I got into yoga, in fact. During my corporate chapter of my life, the place that I worked in, this was in the late 90s, had yoga on campus at lunchtime. And so that was my introduction to it. Is such a wonderful break in the middle of the work day. And then even after I left there and was in Manhattan working, I would hop on the subway on my lunch break and go down and take a yoga class. Yeah, in the middle of the day. But I love that story. And, here you are in Cleveland. The Cleveland Clinic has been a leader in yoga therapy for a while, but it sounded like the class that you took was more of a general class, but it was the thing that helped you have a successful pregnancy. Or we don't know that it was, but it just so happens to be, right?
I think it really helped with my stress level. I was in management. I was the lone Black person on the financial management team. And, that constant being the only is kind of stressful. And just work. You know how corporate work is.
I do. Yeah.
I think I appreciate being self-employed even more after 30 years of corporate work.
Mm-hmm. So tell us then how My Village Yoga was born, and then what does it look like now? Where do you offer yoga and who shows up for it? Maybe kind of give us the history of My Village Yoga.
My Village Yoga began probably in 2014 when I did that first 200-hour in my basement because my teacher made us do practicum. And I would invite my village, my girlfriends, the folks from church, and we're in my basement. I just started calling it my village because that's what I called my people, my village. And I mean, just that much, right? So I did all the practica I was required to do. And when I finished my 200-hour, My teacher said, be a great teacher, get out and teach. So I did that. I went down to the local rec center and to my local library. They were like, sure, you can have a room. And I just started doing it. A Saturday at the library, Tuesdays and Thursdays at the local rec center, a really well utilized rec center. And I still do that. So that program, May 18th, I looked in my calendar when you said we were going to do this, it'll be 10 years. And it's very unofficial, right? At that point, because I was still working corporate. It was something I could do in the evenings after work. And it wasn't incorporated, probably. I didn't do a LLC until I got downsized from my corporate work and was doing it full time, which even that I started doing it full time, I was loving doing it. I even started a class at my church. And when I got downsized, my husband's like, well, why don't you just do more of that yoga instead of trying to find another finance job? I was like, really? It was almost time for my daughter to go to college. And even though we had been putting in that 529, you never think it's enough. Kind of stepped out on faith and just the philosophy of yoga, and it really felt right. Years before that, we had downsized, even more of me living my yoga. We had moved to a 1,000 square foot house. We had given up a car. We were just living a lot lighter and simpler. So when I got downsized, it wasn't, something to freak out about. The yoga has really just helped me in so many ways.
Mm-hmm. And so what does My Village look like now?
That class that I started at the rec center, we still do that 2 days a week. And it's not just me now. I have other yogis that are helping me with that from my training, which happened in 2018. We started to offer a 200-hour registered yoga school. So we have that. I've partnered with a lot of nonprofits locally. So I teach at one community center, and I'm there multiple times a day. They have a daycare center. So I'm teaching little bits like daycare and pre-K. Then I go back for after school. At one point, we had a wraparound grant, and I was doing a chair class for staff. So the babies would be at nap time. The staff and I would be in chairs in the hallway, having chair yoga just for stress management for the staff, which was lovely. And then we would once a month have a community and family night where we would do yoga and then we would break bread together. So we would fellowship in that way. So it's just been that kind of thing. Senior centers, I have a client who is a senior facility. So they have independent living, assisted living, and then a nursing home. They have all the palliative care there on campus. So I was doing that yoga with seniors, which was wonderful. Just all the iterations, 70s, 80s, 90s, they were all there.
Wow.
So that, and just doing community yoga. People come in so many different bodies, so many different experience levels, but to be there together. And now that there's more than one yoga teacher or yoga therapist in the room, sometimes we have folks in the back in a chair that we're working with. We might have somebody who came there with their child or grandchild, and they're on their mat for 2 minutes, and then they're playing with the blocks. But we really do say community, don't worry about the babysitter, just come. Don't let anything hold you back. We have extra mats and props, so there's really no barrier to entry.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to talk about this a little more because this is so much the heart of what you do. And in looking at your website, I see that you offer a lot of free to the community yoga and that you've partnered with many Cleveland agencies. I count almost 30 on your website, ranging from the Northeast Ohio Recovery Agency to the Cleveland Public Library. And I love this model for community yoga where folks get to take the yoga for free. So you've increased access big time. And while you still presumably get paid, right, due to a community funding partner. So I'd love for you to share more about this model because I think more of us can do this. And I'd love to see this happening all across the U.S. We do that here in my community as well, where we find funding partners and then we reduce that barrier to access. But it's not your typical yoga studio model, right? But there's funding partners out there for communities to get access to yoga. So how is it working for you?
Though you brought up Cleveland Clinic, and though my chosen area to focus on is Huff Fairfax, which is really the neighboring community to Cleveland Clinic. Just the medical outcomes aren't optimal. And I think that laid on my heart deeply. And my intention was to bring yoga to the community that don't think yoga is for them. And possibly they don't have a yoga studio near them. And if they did, maybe they're not going to pay a $20 drop in. So I specifically went to places where programming was already going on for the folks who I thought were my audience. I'm bringing the yoga expertise. I feel like if I don't know anything else, I know accounting and I know yoga. And I'm always learning and reading and, continuing education in that area. This is my community. I'm a 50-year-old Black woman with gray hair. I talk about my menopause. Like I'm like everybody's aunt or sister. I look like a family member. So I think that also makes all the things that someone might think about yoga a little bit more accessible when they see that I'm the one. I find that space. It can be a church who's doing their wellness retreat. It could be that community center that's doing an event, or maybe I suggest we do a program. I've been at a community center. They're just a community resource center. And I suggested, let's do a series for arthritis. And the director was like, everybody has arthritis. I was like, exactly. So let's do that. So that's what I'm doing there. And I've had a class there for lots of years. And it just happens. I can't even almost tell you how it happens. I have corporate clients who end up, it's just like the referral process, because I don't do what I should do social media wise as far as marketing and all of that. But the word of mouth, I think you get there, show up on time, do a good job. People spread the word. I think I do most of my best marketing when I'm grocery shopping and folks are looking at my conveyor belt and ask me, what in the world are you doing? And that's my chance to give them a card and to tell them that I'm a yoga teacher. And they're like, really? Because I guess I don't look like what people envision when you say you're a yoga teacher.
And do you find that the financial aspect of it, that these agencies, these organizations have money, or does that sometimes need a bit of negotiation? Or is it maybe it just depends?
Again, I've done it lots of ways. We've written grants together.
Mm-hmm.
I've written my own. Or, like one of my sponsors is PNC Bank. They don't have to write a grant.
Right. They're just a financial sponsor.
Yes. And they want people to come to their facility. So they have a whole calendar every month and they just keep adding things. They have a book club or this specific community center, which is also a neighbor of Cleveland Clinic. We're all right in this Huff, Middletown, Midtown, Fairfax area. And I don't know if you know that Huff is historically, like in 1966, it was, there were riots there. So that area isn't fully built back up, but it's starting to gentrify. So it's interesting, a lot of things going on. Cleveland Clinic, a city unto itself, and then other little pockets where not much has happened in a while. And then we got this burgeoning energy coming. So I just kind of try to keep my ear out, find out what's going on in the city, find out where I can slide in there and use some of the resources that I've developed. As you say, I didn't know there were 30 folks on there, but yeah, that sounds right. I've done, because of my yoga therapy training, I feel so confident to do these different areas, right? So I was able to support the recovery center where folks are working on sobriety and whatnot, because, that was a module in my yoga therapy. That was an area of interest because of family members have struggled in that area. So I'm really trying to just support my community in lots of ways. My community class at that first rec center, it's become a place where not only can my alumni of my yoga teacher training can teach, because that's a thing, but I've had other folks who trained at other registered yoga schools come and just like my model and want to participate, because that one specifically is us giving back yoga to the community. So
Mm-hmm.
there's no payment there other than doing what we're supposed to do, because we have this practice that we know the benefits of, that we love so much and we want to share. It just gives us the opportunity. This space gives us the opportunity to do that. But in a way, it's become another place for new teachers to kind of find their voice. And for some of the more seasoned teachers, I don't even know if I should call myself seasoned. My first training was 2014. So just 10 years next month. It's become a little bit of something different. If I can't do a class because it doesn't work for my schedule, or I just don't think I'm the best person for it, then I push those things out to my alumni. In the training, we talk about my model and writing grants. And I'm not a grant writer by trade. They're pretty easy to do, I found. Kripalu has supported me with grants. I've gotten mats from the Give Back Foundation. Yeah. Even locally, I found things. Our local baseball team, the Guardians, they gave me a grant. So I was able to offer scholarships for my yoga teacher training, to the point that was a really nice scholarship. So in addition to getting them their 200-hour, I could pay for a year of their insurance. I could pay to get them registered with the state and get them really started off nicely.
That's so awesome. You said a couple things in there that I just want to acknowledge and point out. One, the fact that the rec center class is free. And I think that when we offer community yoga, or even just all the ways in which we offer yoga and yoga therapy out there in the world, some of it can be free. Some of it can be grant funded. Some of it can be full price. Like, put yourself out there in all the different ways, into the different aspects of your community that make sense, right? It doesn't have to be one model only. And then in terms of like finding these funding partners, I know what's worked for me. It sounds probably like what's working for you, and what I recommend to our students at Inner Peace Yoga Therapy too, is to like look for the organizations who have a similar mission, or who are already serving the people that you want to serve or that you connect with. So, maybe there is a local nonprofit that's working with cancer patients. That's one of the populations that I work with here, and they want to offer a variety of services to folks going through cancer in our community, yoga being one of them. So they have the grant. Like, I don't have to write the grant. They have the grant, but they can pay me for 2 yoga classes a week, and the individuals get to come for free. Recovery centers, some of them do have funding and want to include yoga. And I've offered yoga in a recovery center nearby my community too, where I would come out there and have weekly classes, and they would pay me, and it was for the people that were in treatment there. And then there are other community organizations where I live that are really invested in the mental health of the youngsters here. So we know that yoga is beneficial for your mental health. You can write that kind of a grant and get funding to offer classes. And even individualized one-on-one yoga therapy could be covered in a grant like that too. So I recommend that you look for funding partners that are reaching the folks that you also feel like you could reach or want to reach, and have that similar mission of uplifting, whether it's mental health or reducing stress, or all of the so many benefits that we know that yoga has now. And that can be data or evidence-based too.
Yeah, I love to supplement a grant with some of the research, or maybe just that I've gotten from our IAYT site, because I know the benefits of yoga, but to show them that, there's a study and there's research behind that's always a nice add to support a grant request. And I mean, I'm still learning. Like, I always go with the benefits and trying to address the disparity in the medical wellness industry, and that this has such value, the self-efficacy of the things we can do for our wellness beyond the medical industry. But I rolled up a grant, and I didn't get the grant, and the guy said, you should think of, you're creating teachers, you are who create businesses, so you should do it as a training and business development. And I had never looked at it from that way before. But that's also a big thing in Cleveland right now is just that, getting folks livelihoods.
Yeah. So many different ways to look at that.
Right. People are always like, aren't you worried about competition? And should you do all of these things? I'm like, there's so many people out here that don't think that yoga is for them. I have plenty of work. There's more work than I can do by myself. And I'm not the one for everyone. We need so many voices out here. I had an all boys school call me and they were doing a wellness event. And I have a young male graduate of our training. And I was like, I have somebody for you. Yes. I just don't think I was the best one for that one. I was like, to see another brother talking about yoga, that's huge to me.
Yeah. I just love all the different things you're saying and doing. And I guess maybe, is there anything new on the horizon for you? Like something exciting you want to share with us, maybe going in new directions, or are you working to kind of build this model that you have right now and bring more teachers in? What does it look like?
Well, actually, this year, I'm not even doing a cohort. We don't have a cohort. I'm a little bit of a break this year. I'm doing some traveling. I went to India in November. Of course, went to Brazil with you in March. And my mom's 80 next month. We'll be traveling to the beach to celebrate her with friends and family.
Nice.
And I'm going to my first Yoga Fest in July. I'm going to Love, Shine, Play in Yogaville, which I haven't been. So I have those things. And, well, I do need to stay home and take care of home and earth. I like to stay married. I've been married for 33 years. So all of these things, this busyness, doing this stuff I love so much. I've talked about doing a 300-hour because my 200-hour folks have asked. And the person who teaches with me in our training now completed her yoga therapy with Marsha Harrell-Banks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the two of us, they hear us talking about it. And I'm like, are we going to do that one day? And Marsha was like, of course, yes, you are. Mm-hmm. So, all these ideas. And we did like a little Cleveland Yoga Fest, the Black Yoga Teacher Summit in Cleveland. And I feel like I want to do that again, but with more resources, like folks having tables, the mental health community, like you were talking about, all these resources and people that I've connected with, people that I refer out to in my private practice. I would love to have them there because I feel like we all support the community wellness in such a nice way. I keep talking to folks about having a team of workers to get you in that just right place. So my Kemetic yoga, the very first law is the law of Amen. And it says that peace is your birthright. And I don't think anyone ever tells us that. The hustle, the grind, we think that's our birthright. But really, peace is our birthright. And I don't think we slow down enough to think about what really is peace to me. And right now, I've just kind of found it where my work and my passion kind of align really well. So we were talking about this before you started recording. One retreat seems like a lot. Originally in my mind, I thought I'd do a seasonal retreat. So maybe hosting a couple of retreats, maybe doing another one instead of just one. I don't know. I'm really working on, I know what my intention is. I just kind of go where intuition leads me. I go with that gut feeling. Is it right? Does it align on my calendar? When all these stars and moon align, then I'm thinking, oh, this is where I'm supposed to go. That's kind of how I'm working out. Even when I came to your retreat, I was like, oh my gosh, look at this. It fits so perfectly on my calendar. I don't have to find a bunch of subs. Things were kind of on break. And I was like, this is meant for me. And everything just flowed so beautifully. Kudos to you. It was a wonderful retreat.
Well, and Joseph and Maria too, right?
Who were my teachers at Kripalas. So I really felt comfortable traveling to Brazil by myself, not knowing anyone else where I was going, but Joseph and Maria were there. I really can't even tell you, when I worked corporate, it was like 5-year, the long and short-term goals, and I was really a goal setter, and now I'm just living a little bit differently. It actually feels pretty good.
And I'm sure, last question is about your own practice. So I'm sure you have daily practices that kind of sustain you and put you in touch with yourself so you can listen to your intuition, listen to your gut. And I always like to hear from our guests on the podcast what their daily practices look like. So maybe you would share that with us in closing here.
Oh, yeah. Since my first yoga teacher training, my 200-hour training, she introduced us to Ayurveda. So that really resonated with me. So I'm waking up, scraping my tongue, doing my neti, oil pulling. And that partner of mine from my yoga school, we do a walk. We have a park. So we do a 3-mile walk first thing and we chat. I told her she's my therapist. We chat and we walk. Then I come back home and do what I feel on my mat. And that is something that I just really started. Menopause has led me to really listen to my body daily because it might speak to me differently and just kind of lean into what I feel like my body wants that day and give it to my body. My toolbox is pretty wide and deep now, and it might be something super slow. It might be something heated, just whatever my body wants, because I know I'm going to be on my mat again because I have something out in the community most every day, or I might be teaching. So I get on my mat a couple of times and I'm really tuning in to the eating. Yeah.
Well, I think it's so awesome what you do, Kimberly, and I hope it inspires others who are listening right now, and all the best to you. And I look forward to our paths crossing again in the future.
Well, thank you so much for asking me to join you today.
If you'd like to learn more about who we are and what we do, visit us at innerpeaceyogatherapy.com.